Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. The Last Coat cleans, shines, and protects. Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. And by NHOU Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, keeps rolling along, and we're glad you came along for the ride. If you're a performance enthusiast or a racer, we know you love adding power to your vehicle. That means a supercharger or a turbocharger, Ryan. But there's some unintended consequences now. Once you've added all that power, you might have some trouble, and you've solved those problems.
That's right. So if you're adding a turbocharger to your car, when you're going to your local drag strip, you're trying to get into the staging beams, you have to be able to control your car when you're in those beams. So typically when you have a turbocharger, you're trying to spool up your turbo to make more power, that way you can launch. One of the problems is you'll push right through the foot brake if you're using your foot brake. So that's why they invented the trans brake, transmission. And trans brake, essentially, you're in first gear and it locks in reverse at the same time, and then that acts as your brake when you're lining up the pre-stage beams. But then you got to move forward that next 7 to 8 inches to move up to the staging beams. And that can be difficult because some of the products that are out there will bump you forward. And when you do that, you don't know where your suspension is going to be.
I've seen years ago when the Pro Mods first started using the trans brakes, they'd sit there at pre-stage, they start to bump in. It looked like they were taking these giant chunks and it looked like they were doing dry hops.
Yep.
It was a mess. And like you said, their suspension then, if it unloads in the wrong spot, you've got the rear wheels off the ground and you're no traction back there and you're in trouble.
That's right. That's right. When light goes green, you don't know where your weight distribution is going to be. So we created the Smooth Stage, which has a proprietary staging algorithm that pulses the trans brake solenoid, allows you to slip in nice and slow right in from the pre-stage beam to the staging beam. That way your suspension is not upset. And then when the light does turn green, you know where your weight distribution is going to be, and then you can take off how you want your vehicle to launch.
So the way it pulses, am I understanding right, it's kind of like anti-lock brakes for your trans brake?
Yeah, you can think of it like that. It allows you to slip right in there to the staging beam.
Super cool. Sounds like a must-have.
Yeah, definitely is.
That's what launched your business, so to speak.
Yep.
And then moving up here, this is the next thing you came up with.
Once that product was out there, kept getting messages from people, hey, we need something like that for the Mustang platform. So the 6R80 6-speed transmission is out there, and for the 11 through 17 model year, we created the True Motorsports 6R Stager. The 6R Stager combines the trans brake functionality with the staging algorithm from the Smooth Stage to allow guys or gals that are running a turbocharger on their Mustang, be able to allow them to now stage at the drag strip. And what we've also done is the newer Mustangs have a 10-speed transmission, the 10R80. And that's a new platform that we're going after with our brand new product, the 10R Stager, that allows people with a 2018 or above Mustang or a truck to have a turbocharger and be able to stage at the racetrack as well.
Making it super easy and really affordable.
Yep.
Now, we talked about adding power to your car.
Yep.
So when you add a supercharger or a turbocharger, you're throwing air into the equation.
Yep.
But now you've got a problem because you're not adding fuel to that mixture.
Yep.
There's another problem you solved. How so?
Yep. So when you're delivering more air to the equation there, you also got to add more fuel. So one of the problems in some of these factory fuel systems, they kind of have a certain ceiling. When they're running 14 volts to the fuel pump, they can't deliver any more fuel. You're going to hit a certain horsepower level where you're not going to be able to deliver enough fuel. So one of the things you can do, you can spend lots of money on a brand new fuel system, or you can then raise the ceiling of that 14 volt threshold. You can bump that up to 18 volts using our Voodoo Booster product line, which boosts the voltage going to your fuel pump from 14 volts to 18 volts.
All right, Ryan, let's see what it's like to install the plug-and-play harness here. We'll do it in the trunk here of the Mustang.
The 11 through 14 Mustang, the plug-and-play harness goes right where the fuel pump driver module is and located in the trunk of the vehicle. You're 15 and above, the fuel pump driver module is located under the back seat of your car. So it's extremely easy. You find the fuel pump driver module and you just unplug the factory wire harness, and then you take our plug-and-play harness, goes right in there, plugs directly in. Once you have that installed, then you take the Voodoo Booster and you plug that directly in, and then you connect it to the ground lug that's located right next to the fuel pump driver module.
And that's it, just a couple of minutes and you've solved that problem. What if you don't want to drive around with your fuel pump at 18 volts the entire time?
Yep. For people that are afraid that their fuel pump's going to die because they're not running at 14 volts, they're running at 18 volts all the time. What's great on the Mustang platform is the fuel pump driver module actually regulates the speed of the pump. But if you don't want to rely upon that, we also have a Hobbs switch, which is connected to your intake manifold pressure. And once it detects boost, it actually triggers the voltage booster to drive that voltage from 14 volts up to 18 volts when you're going down the track. So that way, when you're driving around the town, you're not at 18 volts.
Well, it's easy and it's affordable to add tons of power to your vehicle. Just check them out at TrueMotorsports.com. Thanks, Ryan. And thank you for tuning in to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, here from our new studio. We've got a great segment, though, from our old studio coming up, one that was really in demand, and we think you'll like it, so stay tuned.